Hello, this is Reverend Dr. Anthusa Helena with Soul Light Integrative Medicine. For more detailed information, log on to www.soullight, that's SOLLITE.com. Soul Light offers private sessions, one-to-one private sessions in holistic psychotherapy, as well as a variety of different training programs. And while you're there, take advantage of uploading your free one-page PDF meditation. You can use it anytime you want to help you de-stress your day and come back into a neutral state of mind. So we're continuing on today with our Hope and Inspiration interview series. And I have a really special guest. I love this gentleman with all my heart. I've known him for several years as a friend, a colleague, a teacher, and also my website designer, as well as many other things that he's helped me with in technology. So from here, I really think this is a great message for a lot of inspiration during these trying times and for creating a new creation in a new year that's upcoming for several of us. So enjoy. This is my friend Jonathan Lamothe, and he's with Grassroots Consulting Services. Hi, Jonathan. I'm sorry. Have I been calling you Jonathan the whole time?
You call me whatever you want.
Yeah, that's just me being spaced out, and I apologize to the audience. This is Joshua. Anyway, I deeply apologize for that. I don't know what I have on my mind. I must be thinking of another good friend of mine with that name. Anyway, Joshua. Thank you for being my special guest tonight. And I know you have a lot to say to inspire our audience. So again, Joshua Lamothe.
Thank you. Well, good thing it's here. Everybody can see it here on the screen and read it. So that's helpful.
That's good. I didn't have my glasses on.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to come onto your program here and to just share a little bit, I guess, about myself and what I do and who I help and what I'm up to. I guess I could start with a little bit of a background for myself. Basically, for the last I think it's now about 13 years, since about 2008 or so, I've been working one-on-one individually with entrepreneurs, small business owners, private practitioners, and basically I'm helping them to develop themselves through their brand and express who they are, what they do, how they help people, who they help, and to really just have some really clear messaging around their branding. And I've basically run a web design, essentially, company for the last, like I said, about 13 years. And what I love about what I do is that I get to, well, first of all, each project is very unique. Each person is very unique. And I really love working with each person one-on-one to really help them to bring out their truest self-expression through their brand and through their messaging and through some of their marketing. Because ultimately, my mission is really to help people, I believe, to live their passion, so to speak, or live what they love doing through their gifts and their talents and their skills, and turning it into a business or an organization or a hobby or something that you can do to attract customers or clients or partners.
Or so just express your message. I mean, well, I think the reason why I was attracted to you, most of all, even initially, was we were sharing a lot of the same message of people really finding their true selves in their own inner voice and what is their purpose or what is their message, however way they want to do that, whether they're entrepreneurs and doing their own business or, in whatever manner that helps them find their value and their voice. And that's what I resonated with you. And you've helped me along that way a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so basically, I like to say that I help people work on their three V's, which I call the vision, the value, and the voice. And putting those three elements together through the messaging and the branding. And not only that, I should say, when you do this work, it comes through you. That's the most important part, is that it helps people to get connected to uh, who they are, not so much for this digital marketing web world, but through themselves. They just get to better appreciate what exactly they're doing, why it's important, what kind of difference they're making, right? So I call that their vision. And then, to realize that they're very special and they have these unique set of circumstances or education or skills or training that have made them an expert in something essentially, and that has a lot of value. And that's another part of it. And then through their connection with those pieces, they can better share with people, whether it be one-on-one like we're doing now, or through a broadcast, or through a networking event, or a speech or talk, or through your web presence or your marketing or branding. It's your total voice to the world. And so I work with people on those three levels to just bring that out of them.
And I know for me to share with the audience, when I first met you long ago, I actually thought I knew what my purpose and vision was, and it still is the same. But in working with you, it was a process for me to discover even deeper, on a deeper level, and to have more clarity on really what I was really underlyingly, even though it hasn't changed much. It allowed me to really become clear and to deliver the message with really truly knowing myself in a deeper level.
Yeah, that's great. That's part of the idea of that. We're just tapping into something and trying to explore what we think is the direction we're heading in. But as we go and we learn and we try and we fail sometimes and we just learn what works and what doesn't, we refine ourselves, and we might be doing something somewhat related, somewhat maybe not related at all. But it's not always where we thought we'd be, but we end up where we're more closely meant to be. And that's a really great process, and that's an evolving process. So for me, I get to work with people long term. As things shift and change, we can adapt and adjust, so they're always presenting themselves as their latest creation, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I wanted to share too that also one of what I feel is Joshua's gifts, because I feel like, well, honestly, I've worked with several other people before I was very blessed to meet Joshua. And um, he, in my perception, or in my experience of being with you, um, I always felt you had patience and understanding, and there was a great sense of compassion and empathy, as well as love, to just be there with me where I'm at that time, and to help me move through to a greater potential and clarity of myself. And I just want to share that that's why I feel so close with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's a great risk, and it's a great uh, journey to be an entrepreneur of any kind, and to go out there and do things on your own. And it comes with a lot of things that come up, and a lot of trials and emotions and factors. And it's not easy to always, stay the course and not give up. But I appreciate your resilience. That's why I'm still around too, is that you've continued to be an example of someone who just keeps showing up and just keeps looking and seeing where they can improve, and as a result, finds their audience and finds their tribe, whatever you want to call it. And that's a really, really great feeling, to help people to connect with their best clients, so to speak, or partners, or students in your case, and know that the work that you're putting out there and the messaging that you're putting out around it is resonating with somebody, that they feel a connection. It sort of, the trust gets kind of baked in there, and it makes it a lot easier to work with people, in my experience, if you do it right.
Well, I think you also don't you share. You did this with me as well, but maybe the format has changed for you recently, or has gotten clearer for you as well recently. That I went through a process as I was developing the website initially with you to get clear on my message. And there were questions that you would ask me, and I would have to think them over and then, get back to you and meet with you on a one-to-one basis. And even, it was a bit frustrating sometimes for me because I would be like, well, what does he want from me? I'm doing everything he's telling me to do. But it was a journey to go deeper and to become clearer. And you just asked the right questions or held my hand, or I don't know what you did. You did it just very wonderfully. So that's why I wanted you to share your expertise with the audience as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's a big part of my process that I do is, it's exploratory. You don't know the answers; they're in you, but I don't know the answers. So all I've done is to really, learn how to ask certain questions that bring out that sort of unexplored area that we kind of know it, but we haven't really gone into it. We tend to operate on the surface and we don't think too deep about it. But really what it comes down to is a deep understanding of who you are, what you do, what you offer, how you do it. How does your process work? Who is your audience? What do they care about? Right? And to go deep in this exploration, and really connect with that, and then from there craft the branding. And when I say brand, I mean the written word, the colors, the symbolism, the imagery, right? Is the whole representation. So when people see you, because we live in a world where most people interact with you perhaps for the first time through seeing your website.
Right.
We don't always have these one-on-ones with people before they get to know us. Sometimes they see us online on through our social media or our web presence. And for, that's why I believe it's important. I call it actually your virtual self, because it's like an extension of who you are if you do it right. So then when you're, like I said, offline and you're in the grocery store and you have a random conversation with somebody, you're starting to speak the way that you practice through the work that you do, that we've done exploratory. So it's really cool to, even though it's challenging for both, because I'm trying to extract, I'm doing this every day. I'm trying to interview people with my clients, and I'm trying to just take notes and understand them more and reflect back to them what they said, and in a way that resonates with them. And that's a challenge for me, but it's fun. It's putting a puzzle together in some way.
You're also very creative. If I haven't mentioned that prior, that I know sometimes I'd be working with an image or a marketing, whatever you would call branding, possibly. The lingo is really your expertise. But even if I'm just setting up a quote and I'm looking for a background of a picture or something, and I kind of talk to you about it, and we work a little bit together with it, and then when I always get the final product, and I'm always amazed. I'm like, how did you get that to look so perfectly? Like you understood me even beyond more than maybe what I felt I expressed to you when I see the end product result. So I don't know how you do that, but
I don't know. Well, it's a kind of an intuitive process. It's a little bit of just starting with the concept or direction, and letting intuition or just a creative process happen. And oftentimes I just see inspiration, even if I'm looking on Google. I see inspiration and something kind of clicks, and I'm just perceptive to that. I guess it's one of my skills that I have either naturally or I've cultivated, that I apply to what I do, which is part of my value. That's kind of what you're saying too. You're alluding to what makes me valuable and also unique. A lot of people in my position who do tech kind of stuff or web stuff, they're known for not being very communicative or really empathetic or listening well, so I've just made an effort to just lead with these sort of communication skills and empathy and just patience, like you said, because it's what I'm naturally good at. And then, in discovering that for myself, I get to put that into my conversation. So when I'm actually speaking to someone about doing a project, for example, maybe the first time we're speaking and I'm giving them an overview, I'm accentuating these values. I'm talking about why communication is important and why we have week-to-week calls and why we do check in and we collaborate. And they want that. So when I express my values and what makes me unique, they already want that, and it makes it more of a good fit. And that's really what I'm trying to accomplish for everybody that I work with.
Yeah, and you expressing that, I feel, also allows them the space to be more open to explore or inquire within themselves, or to find their own, however you want to say, gifts and talents or skills. But I would think that you would call that, more their value. And I think value is one of the biggest. Well, they're all important, your 3 V's, to have the vision. What are you really wanting? The bigger picture of everything. I'm imagining this is what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I may be wrong. Yeah. So
No, you're on there. Yep.
you explain more, and then the value to really see, because for me individually, and I'm not saying everybody's like this, but there would be like places I would get stuck because I still had some let's say um, things in my unconscious mind or subconscious mind that were blocking me, that had been around that word value or self-esteem or confidence. And when that's still veiled, this is my belief system, I'm not saying it's yours. Then it doesn't allow that truth and the creativity to really blossom, like a flower opening. And so, you are always there to listen. I think is very important key as well. And to be patient for me to just get to that point. Now, I don't know if I'm your typical client that you work with, but that's been my point of view. If you want to talk about if that's sort of what you experience with everybody, or if it was just my thing.
No, no, I mean, there's a different levels and different ways. Everybody's unique and everybody has their own thing. But I definitely agree that the value piece is probably the most critical. Arguably, you can't really succeed on the others without it, because value is it's got to do with two things in my mind. One is the value, like in terms of why your service, so to speak, or your product or your message is so important. But it also has to do with self-worth, like you said. It has to do with the way that you recognize your value for yourself. And oftentimes, if you don't really have that, like locked in, like it's undeniable that it has value, it can make things like pricing out things or charging what you're worth, or asking for more, or thinking you can do something that's beyond what you think you can do. It makes it really difficult. I find, and so everybody that I work with, not everybody has a lack of connection to their value. Most people are thinking their value is like over here, but it's actually over here. So it's a matter of just sort of like realigning it. And when that happens, there can be like a strengthening of what's already working. That I've noticed, and that to me is the best part, because ultimately, when my clients grow, I grow with them, typically. So that's important to me as a business person, to be able to have relationships where it's mutual back and forth. And then as they expand their business and they start charging more and offering different packages and pricing, there's more of an interest in working more with me. So it's very important to me in a lot of ways to get people to that clear on that. Yeah.
So that let me reiterate, if I get this right, it sounds like a win-win situation as both of you grow and prosper, and to also help those that you're in service to. So they're winning as well. The potential clients or products or people you're serving. But the other point that I heard you say was not so much of what I was talking about as veils, has created like blockages to move forward. But the other important point I heard you just say was the alignment, because I agree that if we're not aligned with what I call the soul purpose or our real vision, like, or the real message, like you're talking about, if you're just a little bit off to the right or a little bit off to the left, and you're not right on target in the center, I think things don't flow as easily and go so well. Is that correct?
I think so. I totally agree. I've experienced that myself, undeniably, and I think it's definitely true. And I think this work. Obviously, there are many ways to get to this sort of appreciating yourself and valuing yourself, and putting yourself out there and living in alignment. But you know, I just see that being on the edge, like as an entrepreneur, and really having everything depend on that, helps you to really work on it in a way that I think a lot of people might not. People maybe that are, and I don't mean to be, not trying to be judgmental in any way, but I'm making a contrast between maybe people who are spending so much of their time working for someone else or under someone else's sort of way of doing things, that they're not quite in integrity with the way that they would be doing things if they had total freedom to do things. And when you step out into entrepreneurship and you have more of a degree of control over yourself and how you handle yourself and how you present yourself and all these things, where you have the freedom to do, it can be really challenging. I mean, it is really confronting, because you don't really have that sort of, I don't need to work on this because I'm kind of taken care of with security in a certain sense, right? And so I think that's why I value the entrepreneur, especially the individual entrepreneur, because you have to also rely on other people. Well, you don't have to, but I mean, I've been told, and I think it's true, that if you try to do everything yourself, you're not going to get where you really want to go. You have to sort of expand and work with other people, and an entrepreneur has to also develop these interpersonal relationships too. You can't just be isolated by yourself with no clients and no customers and nothing. Otherwise you're not going to go very far in it. So it forces you to really work, and the work's not always easy. It can be, like you said, it can be uncovering things you didn't even know, and then you have to process those.
Yeah. Well, that's been my journey. I don't want to scare people out there, or stop them from taking the journey, because it's very rewarding. And everybody, like you said, is an individual and it's different situation. But I know, because I'm older, I spent most of my life, majority of my life, running my own business, but it was psychotherapy business, and it was just one-on-one clients. And when I met you, I was wanting to do more of a global reach out, and I wanted to have um, more of a group effect and one-on-one, because that's very rewarding as well. But I was looking my vision to expand, and to then all of a sudden have to look at life or situations of business, if that's what you want to label it, differently, and not do everything on my own, which I was very used to always doing everything on my own. So it's like I had to let go of a certain amount of control, which, if you've lived your life doing it all on your own all the time, those of you that might resonate with what I'm talking about, it's not that easy. And then, developing the trust and the accountability and the responsibility, not within your own self, but within the others that are in your team that are supporting you and helping you as well. That was a big thing for me. Might not be a big thing for a lot of people, but I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important to say, especially for people that are, it's more than for some people, again, I don't want to make generalizations, but for many people, probably people who would listen to this program, it would seem like more of a calling. It would be very difficult in some cases to ignore that voice that says, keep going, and this is what you're meant to do. It can be beyond you saying, well, I'm just going to ignore that. And so there's this sort of purpose or mission to it, And most of us are already doing it to some degree or another, whether we choose to sort of monetize it and make it part of our life in a way that we live and work, you know, but most people are already using your most valuable skills one way or another, whether it's in your current job or it's just in your personal life or whatnot. So you're already sort of doing the mission, so to speak. But if you haven't stepped all in, or even half in, half in would be fine. If you're managing kind of like something on the side, that's how a lot of people start. It is sort of transitioning. But it becomes something that it's hard to ignore, I think, if you're meant to do, especially in the healing arts, especially in that realm. I think, like you mentioned, psychotherapy, and a lot of my clients just happen to be naturally therapists of varying kinds. And it's a good example of someone like this because you've probably had a lot of training. You've probably dedicated many years of your life to study. This is not something you're doing on a whim. This has been a lifelong pursuit. Perhaps you've worked in organizations or been a part of organizations, and you've, again, experienced different things and got more different skills and training and maybe developed your own way of doing things. And now it's like, what would I be if I shed the limitations of all that and actually just had the freedom to do it all? And sometimes that's a very strong calling, or even in this day and age, people are being sort of pushed out through economic reasons or social issues or medical issues, whatever's happening. People are sort of like left with, oh no, what do I do? And I think before people rush into getting another job, if it's possible, like to do this and think about how can I leverage my skills and create I use the word brand. I guess it's just a universally accepted, a brand and a business around it, if I haven't already, to sort of transition me out of this time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree that it definitely is a purpose and a calling, which is what I was looking for, and the universe introduced us, by accident. But there are no accidents. I know when I first met you, I thought I was coming to a networking event through another person that I knew, and it wasn't that at all. And so, that's what I meant by accident. But also, but not by accident, but also, I'm assuming that your business originally, maybe you called it Grassroots because it was helping individuals, I'm sure many different people, but I'm thinking about me personally, who was wanting to, start to become, bigger, because I was just one-on-one before. And so to me, that was like a grassroots, like a small business kind of thing, wanting to get a little bigger. But I think you do much else than just that. And we're coming to the end. So I want to just summarize, because I think you have a booklet now that you offer to people that help them actually do that self introspection. And then if they need help with it, which is basically what you did with me, um, prior to, I think, you organizing this really nice formatted booklet that you offer. Actually, it's a book, maybe. And then you work with them if they need help on doing it with them if they need, further assistance. Is that what you do? Or do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you. I wanted a way that I could offer people a sort of a very entry level way to start this process without having to jump into a full project. And so what I've done is I've created what I call the Visionary Guidebook. And it's essentially a series of questions that you would ask yourself and answer that are in the area of these 3 V's: vision, value, and voice. And there's also a section in there on what I call aligned clients. And so what it does is it just gets you thinking in a structured way about all these elements. And it's a written workbook. You print it out and you write on it. And it serves 2 purposes. One is it starts to get you more and more in touch and flush out some ideas and things like that. But then it also serves as the basis for copy or for messaging, right? That you could then give to a web designer or a copywriter or a brand, or someone in a business consultant role, and they'll have more of an understanding of what you want to bring to life. And so what I've done is I've offering the book to your audience, and I'm offering an hour and a half of my time. So if you want to basically just work together on a workbook collaboratively, if so, a lot of people know they want to do things, they don't really think that they have the time to do it. So we block out an hour and a half, and I'm charging $297 for the 90 minutes. And if anybody has any interest in that, I will be leaving some links within the description of this video, and also within the email that people will be receiving to get this video here. So there'll be a way to get in touch with me and to inquire about that or register for that. And I'm very excited about working with people on that very grassroots level. Absolutely, that's where it is. It's, grassroots for me, if I can just finish up by saying, it started as a vision. It was the only thing I've ever had in my life that was the closest to an actual vision, was the beginning of this company that I started. And Grassroots to me is about starting from the ground up, building a strong foundation, and growing as you evolve and as you grow, and collaborating with other people on your way up, and everybody kind of rising together. And that's what I believe in. That's what I value.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate that I know you did that process with me, and maybe it wasn't as formally put into the book that it is now. And but I assure everybody that it does work. It's worked for me anyway. And I don't think that it's just for anybody that just wants to start a business. If you're only even interested in knowing yourself a little bit more, discover more about yourself and what is your passion in life. And I think we're always already doing it, like Joshua said during the interview time together. But possibly it's time to do it in a greater way, or to come more fully embodied or aligned with it in a really empowered way. And these YouTube or interviews are really timeless, but as we are doing this right now, we all have been through some trying times globally within the last year and a half, 2 years, and many lives have changed. People's lives have changed in a lot of different ways: relationships, jobs, health, finances. So it is a really something that I feel closely in my heart, that it's perfect timing to do something like this. And I think Joshua is the perfect person because he's helped me. So, the information, like Joshua said, is going to be in this newsletter and also attached to this social media venues. And I'm Soulite Anthusa Helena from Soulite Integrative Medicine. Check out my website. And Joshua, you can finish if you want to talk about your website or how to get in touch with you if you wanted to add something else as we close.
Sure. My website is www.grassrootsconsult.com, CONSULT. And again, there'll be links to my 90-minute one-on-one offer attached to this video.
Well, thank you very much for being with our audience today. I hope everybody has found this very inspirational. I know that it brought a lot of hope and change into my life. And thank you, Joshua, for helping us all.
Thank you.